An astonishing 65% of Americans, some earning over $100,000 a year, live paycheck to paycheck, and half of Americans don't even have $400 set aside for emergency funds. Debt from credit cards to mortgages burdens many of us. Financial success isn't solely about your earnings, it's about how well you manage your money. However, schools often overlook teaching us this vital skill, leaving our financial habits to be shaped by our upbringing and our environment. Fueling the problems are social pressures, media, and advertisements, constantly urging us to want more, be more, and do more. We're tempted by the latest gadgets, the hottest fashions, and luxury cars. And we're fed with the notion that certain careers equate to success, and that home ownership, the American dream, is the pinnacle of success. The result, a relentless cycle, an endless rat race where we're always chasing but never reaching the cheese. With a decade of experience in finance and consulting, advising top investors, private equity firms to Fortune 100 companies, I've been in the thick of the relentless quest for more, faster, and better. While I fully respect ambition and the pursuit of realizing your fullest potential, it's become clear to me that the problem arises when this rat race leaves us teetering on the edge of financial ruin, basically living paycheck to paycheck. This race mentality seduces us into believing that constantly striving for more equals success. Breaking free is more than just a peace of mind. It's about reshaping the narrative for our future generations, breaking debt cycles, and redefining what success truly means. I'm going to share 5 habits that perpetuate this race and empower us to craft our own financial narratives. Hey friends, I'm Diane. If you're new here, on this channel I talk about all things personal finance, entrepreneurship, and creating sustainable habits to help us lead healthier, happier, and freer lives. In life's whirlwind, it's easy to fall into this comparison game, particularly in social media, where everyone's life seems picture perfect. This is the trap of keeping up with the Joneses, striving to live beyond one's means to maintain a certain illusion of success. I'll tell a quick story. I had a friend who was nearing his 50s, saw his peers buy their second to third home, stepping into his retirement years. And this achievement, this pool of social approval, was so irresistible. So even though he didn't have the money, he decided to buy a second home, not for the home itself, but to fit in, to keep pace with his peers, and to avoid the feeling of feeling inferior. This pursuit was a mirage of fleeting validation from material possessions and societal approval, which led to debt and even more anxiety, instead of relaxing in his retirement years. Now, I want to be clear that there's absolutely nothing wrong with desiring beautiful homes, prestigious careers, and an impressive job title if they genuinely bring you joy. If the thought of buying a second home by the beach brings a smile to your face, or a career that shifts to high stress but high reward excites you, then by all means pursue it. However, the trouble brews when we start using these as symbols to measure up against one another. It's when we buy that second home, not for the love, the sea breeze on our face, but to mask the feeling of inadequacy amongst our peers. It's when we choose a career path not out of our passion, but the flashy title that mirrors societal success. This story struck with me when I was in my early 20s because I realized I didn't want this type of pressure, especially when looking forward to less stressful years. The rat race often becomes a relentless quest for social approval, not for our own personal dreams and desires. That's the trap that we need to avoid. Stephen Covey once said, "If the ladder isn't leaning on the right wall, every step we take just gets us to the wrong place faster." This quote hit home for me in my 30s as I became a parent and found myself deep in the corporate world. It made me realize the importance of aligning our actions and our true goals and values, and ensuring that we're progressing towards what truly matters to us. So picture tirelessly climbing the corporate ladder only to realize that it's leaning against the wrong wall. You've been pushing yourself, working long hours, and thinking it will lead to more money. But typically, annual pay increases are only 2 to 3%, hardly covering inflation. And if you were to switch a job where the job does pay you 30% more, you could definitely take that money and use it to invest. But let's dive into the heart of the matter. Building wealth isn't just about clocking more hours for a higher paycheck. You only have so many hours in a day, and even in high earning professions like becoming a doctor or a lawyer where you're paid by the hour, you're limited in your earnings, because wealth stems from owning cash generating assets that produce passive income. It's basically about making money while you sleep. The key is shifting from an employee to an ownership mindset. You need to build or buy equity in a business or assets that generate passive income. This way your money starts working for you rather than you working for your money. This is all about leveraging resources to create an income stream independent of the hours you put in. And that's the real secret to breaking free from the rat race. Imagine this, you're in a stable 9 to 5 job, your only source of income. It feels secure, but what if you lose your job tomorrow, or there's an economic downturn and there's a bunch of job layoffs? This situation, this third habit, really traps us in the rat race. Becoming dependent on a single source of income means our financial stability is directly tied to our employment, leaving us pretty much vulnerable to the factors that are beyond our control. It's definitely a classic trait of the race here, dependency on a single paycheck, and it's the fear that keeps us clinging to it. So the idea here is not to rely on one single source of income, living paycheck to paycheck, but exploring other income generating avenues. This isn't about quitting your day job, but about diversifying your income for financial stability. Multiple income streams increase our earning potential and cushion us against this financial hardship of just relying on one source of income. This could include side hustles or investments, rental income, or starting a small business. So diversify your income. Explore opportunities aligned with your skill sets and your interests, and your financial stability shouldn't just be tied to your 9 to 5 job. The fourth habit that keeps us stuck in the rat race is neglecting financial literacy. Many of us lack basic financial skills like budgeting, investing, and saving. It's a bit like sailing a ship without a compass. Without these essential skills, we end up adrift in the sea of financial uncertainty, perpetually dependent on others to navigate our own monetary waters. This habit ties us to the rat race because we're outsourcing our control of our financial future instead of taking the reins ourselves. The ostrich effect is a common financial behavior that plays into this habit. It refers to our tendency to ignore negative financial information, burying our habits in the sand like an ostrich. We might avoid looking at bank statements, postponing retirement plans, or ignoring rising credit card debt. Not planning for the future leaves us unprepared and vulnerable. And this avoidance doesn't make it disappear. It only amplifies and multiplies that financial stress and insecurity for ourselves. So let's pull our heads up out of the sand and start learning about personal finance. It might seem overwhelming, but there's a bunch of resources and content out there. There's an old saying that goes, the older we get, the more set in our ways we become. This tendency becomes particularly prominent in our financial behaviors. This habit is teethering us to the rat race, which is resisting change and fearing risk, often clinging to this perceived idea of stability and security. Change can be scary. Venturing into the unknown requires going out of your comfort zone and bracing for a potential failure. However, breaking free from the rat race involves accepting some calculated risks. And this isn't endorsing reckless decisions like quitting your job tomorrow, but rather it's considering pros, cons, and the possible outcomes and making decisions that feel financial growth. And note, there will always be elements in life that are too precious to risk, like your health, relationships, and your core values. So the idea is embracing change and taking calculated risks to lead to new sources of income. But it starts with overcoming this resistance to change. And remember, the first step towards change is often the hardest, but it's also the most rewarding. If you stuck around this far, thank you so much for watching. I genuinely hope that some of this information is valuable to you. If you did, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more content. If you want to learn more on saving your first 100,000, then check out my other video right here. See you in the next one.